Hi, I'm Kate Olson, and we're here on the Embrace Change Radio website. And I'm here with Morgan Lynn, and we're about to do a soul talk. And this soul talk is going to be, I call it Odd Girl Out. And it's about fitting in or not fitting in, and how that feels, what that feels like, and we're just going to talk about that and see where it goes. And before we get started, I'd like to have Morgan tell us a little bit about herself.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I've been doing self-development and personal development work for going on 13 years now. So I feel like I've seen some things. I'm really excited for this conversation. But specifically, I am I call it a psychic empath. So I work with empaths on helping them develop their sensitivities and their connection and to move out of those wounded places for themselves. I work with a lot of intuitives when they're wanting to embrace their gifts and understand that whole dynamic and that relationship. And I've authored my first book. It's The Spirited Human, and working on my second one. I'm really excited about that one. So more details as it develops. But yeah, I'm really excited about this conversation. It's always something that percolates in my mind. I love human nature. I love the dynamics of how relationship and belonging plays out in our world. So thanks for having me.
Yes, I had Morgan on my Embrace Change with Kate radio show, I think in 2018. And I'm going to be having her on again in March, where she's going to talk a little bit more about intuition and empaths. But I am also an empath. I'm not too much on the, I'm intuitive, but I'm not too much on any like clairvoyance or any of that. But I've always been an empath since I was a child, although I didn't know what it was. And, feeling sort of, different,
Yeah.
Not knowing that I knew more than some other people and maybe getting input on people's feelings and really not understanding, how to process it, what to do with it, has always been a thing. And when I was a little kid, I think people took me to be more shy and reserved than I actually was. Because my mother told me this story about when I was a little kid, and I mean like really little, like 2 and 3. I would, look out the window and see kids playing out there. And I would say, I'm going to go play with those kids. And so my mom said I would go out there and I would just stand, on outside of wherever they were playing, and I would watch them. And she said, they would usually ask me to play. And sometimes I would, and sometimes I wouldn't. And, oftentimes they would have to ask me twice before I would play. And sometimes I would come back in the house and she would say, I thought you were going to play with those kids. And I would say, well, they didn't want to play with me. And my mom was kind of puzzled by this because she saw them ask me. And she said, well, they asked you to play. And I said, yeah, but they really didn't want to play with me. Oh. And it was just a matter of fact thing to me. It wasn't, I feel so bad because they didn't want to play with me. but she took it, me being shy. And I think it was really me assessing the energy and
Mhm.
deciding whether I was welcome in that group or not,
Wow.
or whether I liked the energy. And so I'm going to ask Morgan a little bit more about how her feelings developed.
Yeah, as you're telling your story about being the kid, I remember, and then of course my mom told me stories of how I wanted to belong so badly. I would go door to door and ask if they had any kids I could play with because it was always such a craving for me. I do agree with you. I can see how you were assessing whether or not you wanted to play with them, get involved with them, and that speaks to your wisdom on that level because I didn't have that really. My wanting connection developed through um, feeling so off and so different. But like you, I didn't know it was called an empath. We didn't have that language back then. Like we just didn't know. But to feel everything but not see what was there, it was very unnerving. And so I always felt like something was wrong with me. I tried so hard to pretend like I was normal, whatever I thought normal was, right? Because I didn't want anybody to see that I was that weird in my mind, right? I felt like I was so
Mm-hmm.
different. And so a lot of my childhood and high school years and even into my 20s was a lot of me pretending that that wasn't happening, just acting like everyone else and being like how they were being so that I could fit in and try to not stand out in a way that I didn't want to stand out, which in that moment was I'm weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, when I was little like that, I took my feelings in a very, matter of fact way. That was just how I felt, and I didn't think a lot about it.
Right.
But as I grew up, I became more like you. I tried to analyze them. I wanted to know, why. And that led to me having the feelings that you had of always, like I could feel when, people, yeah, I didn't always know the source of them, but when for some reason they weren't accepting me,
Mm-hmm.
and I uh, wanted them to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I tried to, as you said, I had this desire to fit in, to be whatever they, would accept.
Yeah.
And rather than, you know, accepting um, that knowledge that I was getting was a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, like the woman that I was talking to Morgan before we came on, and I mentioned a situation that I just saw posted where a woman was talking about having gone to a meeting, and um, she felt like the women there had not been supportive of her, that they were like mean girls. And
Mm-hmm.
she posted about that, and she obviously felt, like very unaccepted, like she would have wanted to be accepted by that group.
Right.
But maybe she was getting a good message. Maybe she was getting the message that this isn't your group. You
Right.
aren't the people you want to be accepted by. So,
I think we want to belong so deeply, it's so ingrained within our makeup. I feel like that's really what drives everything is connection, that we want it so badly that we will ignore the signals and the signs that those are our people. And for me, how that started manifesting is um, I call it, and there's archetype work. And so for me, that's the prostitute archetype, where I was willing to do anything to get the acceptance. I was willing to give away all my power, all my truth, all my everything, just so I would get that back. I wish I had had that awareness when I was younger, because there's so much that I gave away in the hopes that I would get something back. And it never really fills you up, but it really sets us up for a repetitive kind of moving in and out of relationships and just giving away your power, because we just want that connection so badly.
Yeah. I don't think I ever quite went that route. I think I went more the route of, I wanted to change those people, like make them behave better, make them more accepting. And, as you know, that doesn't work.
No,
So,
yeah, people don't like that.
No, they don't like that.
Yeah,
they don't like that, and they don't do that. It has to happen, within them, and you're not gonna affect it.
Yeah, I can see how you and I would have been that dynamic together, because I felt very out of control, very chaotic, and I could see someone like you coming in going, sweetie, what are you doing? And then me rebelling because of that. We think we know, right? We think we're really connected to the awareness that, no, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Don't tell me what to do. And yeah, I had to come to that on my own.
You actually would have been my sister. My sister was like that. She was she is very empathic, but she was the kid who, she didn't, she could absolutely know that kids did not want to play with her. Yeah. She would do anything to get them to play with her, bribe them with popsicles, just whatever. And I'm here saying, no, don't do that. They, they don't want to play with you. And she's like, I'm playing.
I will change their mind. I will make them love me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't listen to me, as you said. She rebelled. Oh. So
we have to come to it on our own, right? It's
exactly.
That's part of, for me, on that aspect, it's part of the maturity of it, of growing into that and realizing no matter how hard you try, it's not going to work. And then really being beaten down enough to where you're forced to look at yourself and get to a place where I accept me. And if you accept me, that's a bonus, but I'm not going after that now. That's not my driving force anymore. But that's been a very long road.
Yeah, there are, I don't know, I call them side effects of having this feeling and having, I guess, this information, because some people don't have it. Some people actually don't know. They're not getting this information, so it makes it a lot easier. I think maybe.
I think it also matters in what your particular flavor of trauma was, because I've always had the sensation, but I wanted connection more than to trust myself. I wanted that more because I didn't get it from my parents. And so my particular flavor of trauma was abandonment and disconnection. And so that it drove me to want it, and I will give you anything you want if you just give me this. And everyone has their own relationship in that, whatever that trauma is for them, it will mold us, which is just part of the deal, right? It's just part of the, like I said, the maturity process of growing into yourself. So yeah, that I know that comes from my own trauma.
Yes, the side effect that I was talking about and didn't quite say was, I still, when I go to a new group of people, I will always get that feeling that, I'm different, I don't fit in, and I have to, like question it. I have to say, am I, is this actually true, or am I bringing this up from my past experience? If
Yeah.
I, take the initiative here, can I fit in without, doing those things that you were talking about, of not being your authentic self?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and why I say it's a side effect, because and I've done both of these things, if I just accept that feeling, I don't fit in, I just withdraw. I back off. And there have been times when I pushed past it and found out it was wrong.
Right.
I just needed to give these people a chance to really see who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that too. And then I also remember, well, first on that level of, do I really fit in? I asked myself, do I want to fit in? Like for me,
that's important too.
yeah, I've got to give myself the choice first. But then there's also this other side of it, just remembering that more than likely nobody fits in. Like everyone feels that way, even though they're really good at faking it. We're all really good at faking the confidence, the poise. But everybody has these issues. And I try to remember that too. So it
And
helps.
also what does fitting in mean?
Correct.
Because, everybody is not going to be your best buddy. Or
Right.
sometimes fitting into you means, you're the center of attention. Or sometimes fitting in means you're not the center of attention.
Right.
So it's a different definition for everybody.
Yeah, I wonder too, like as we kind of dissect this a little bit, I wonder if we're giving too much attention to the energy of fitting in, where we are evolving. And part of me wonders if now our quest is fitting in with self. Like when we talk about being that authentic self and walking into the room as is, like who you are, and being crystal clear that that's who you want to be. To me, all that other conversation about fitting in goes away, because I will fit in with some and I won't fit in with others. But as long as I have the central point of my knowing, it starts to not matter.
Yes, and having the confidence to be okay whether you fit in or you don't.
Right.
Because now, if you look around, everybody still does want to connect and fit in, but there's so many people really trying to stand out and not fit in. Really trying to establish what's unique about me.
Right. And that, I think that's where I'm headed with that, is because fitting in is so much pressure, because it already speaks to a prerequisite cookie cutter image of I need to look like that in order to be a part of that. When I like belonging, I want to belong to a group, but I'm willing for it to be diverse, and I want to witness you where you are. I don't want to look like you. I don't want to talk like you. I do want to be me. So individualism, I think, can be a beautiful thing to celebrate. So maybe that's part of the dynamic of the pressure of fitting in, that we're looking at it as, well, I don't look like you, I don't walk like you, I don't talk like you, I must not be able to be a part of your group.
And also, if you look back at, childhood, fitting in always comes with a lot of following.
Yes, yes.
And if you are not a follower,
Hmm.
I, it's pretty likely that you're not going to be the person that fits in to every group.
Yeah, yeah. I see that. Oh, I see that so big in my life because I spent that first portion of my life trying so badly to do that. But the inner rebel really was resenting that whole process. I was resenting myself for trying so hard to be that, that now it's to a degree where I joke about how I won't even follow fashion trends. If something starts to become popular, I have a click, a signal in me that goes, nope, I'm not doing it. Even though I like it, even though I think, oh, that's pretty fun, I won't let myself do it.
Yeah, I have a friend and I could really relate to her. That's why I picked it up so quickly.
Yeah.
Is she has that rebel, like anything that is following, she's not doing.
Hmm.
She was supposed to follow me in her car when we were going somewhere.
And she did not.
Only thing is, she left first. That whole following thing doesn't work if you.
Yes. Yes. And I think that so how the math, right? The math works out for me is if we're individual and we want our own voice and we want our own identity and our flair, right? We want our own specialness, but we were born for connection and being a part and belonging. It gets really choppy right there because it's almost like society is saying being individual is great, but you're going to be alone because you won't fit in because you're not like everyone else. And so it's this very interesting catch-22 for us where we have to almost give away our individualism so that we can belong into a group. And I think maybe some of the rebels are starting to reclaim and going, no, 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 I am me and I want to belong and it's okay.
There's also a culture, especially in the field that we are in, about leadership
Mm-hmm.
and being a leader. And then, if you're a leader, you're supposed to accumulate followers.
Right.
And that
I
kind
don't
of
want that
just
either.
goes totally, although I know that, it goes totally against my, I guess, life philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to create followers. I
Mm-hmm.
want to create people that are unique. You know, they're they're not following me, they're going their own way.
Right, right. And that's slippery too, right? Because I want people to follow my work, of course,
Yes.
benefit from what I'm offering, but don't follow me. Like don't give me that much credit. I'm still trying to figure it out too. I don't want followers. I don't want people just believing in everything I say. And so I'm real careful about making sure they know that they have autonomy and it is their life and I have things to offer, but it's yours.
Well, it's also a big burden to,
Oh yeah.
have people follow you, because then you're supposed to have all the answers, and
Mm.
who
No,
does. I
I
mean, I know
refuse.
I get people every day who are emailing me or contacting me
Mm.
about you know their expertise on something,
Yeah.
and half of the time they totally don't even know what they're talking about.
No.
So
No, I refuse to play that game. Like um, a friend of a friend once said, I can't wait when I catch people putting me up on on a pedestal. I can't wait to disappoint them because that whole energy of putting someone on a pedestal means you have put them in a position of having power over you. So if there's ever a moment when I feel like people are doing that to me, I go, oh no, 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 no. So I can't wait to disappoint them because I don't want that pressure and they deserve better for themselves because they also have the truth within them, and they also have that connection. So no, 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 I don't play that game.
Well, one of the most powerful things anyone who wants to influence or make an impression on other people is to be vulnerable and tell them not, how great you are, but what your flaws or vulnerabilities are,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
then they know that they can relate to you.
Right, right. I talk openly about my
Yeah,
process.
I know you do.
Yeah, I'm pretty like, not everyone knows everything, of course. I choose to speak what I speak about, but I'm pretty open about my own shadow work, my own process, and it's primarily so that people do get that I don't have all the answers. I too am going through this human evolution with everyone else, and I don't want that pressure. I want them to feel a sense of belonging in my words, not that they want to fit in and do that guru energy of pedestal and mm-mm.
And everyone actually is, even those people that do put themselves up there on the pedestal and claim that they have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
They are just creating that facade, really, of the person who has that, but they really don't.
No, no, they're lying to themselves and they're lying to everyone else.
Yeah, and
That's just for me, that's just the truth.
yeah, and that's, it in a way, it's a little disappointing because, we all kind of hope that there is somebody who has all the answers.
Right. Somebody has got to know how this works.
But the truth is that we are all just all going through the journey, and, some things we know and other things we don't, and life is the process of learning and experiencing.
Yeah, and see, and that ties back into the belonging for me of I don't have to know everything, because what I don't know, you'll know. And if you don't know, someone else will know. And this is what community is about for me. And this is what that tribal traveling together frequency is for me. And nobody has to know everything, because we're all going to pitch in and do it together. And I feel like that's such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful option than following one person and having that pressure be on that person.
Yeah, and it is also like my clients that come to me for help. I do help them or help them help themselves,
Yeah.
but I always learn something in the process myself too.
Yeah.
So, and I try to always, tell them what they taught me too, because I think it's, important for them to know that they have
Mm-hmm.
wisdom and something to offer as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I always walk away with more insights when I have a session with someone. There's always new layers to learn. That's what's so beautiful about life is once you do think you have it figured out, there's a new layer and a new layer. And so it's always enriching. It's always getting deeper. So the moment a person thinks they've learned everything is the moment the universe goes, oh, really? Watch this. And it's going to teach you something else.
Yep.
Yeah. I love it that way though. Like, yes, please, more. Let's keep going and keep going and keep
Well,
going.
it feels good, once you reach those aha moments. Sometimes
Sure.
the part in between is a little,
Bumpy.
yeah, bumpy.
Gets
So,
in there.
so now, how do you deal with those, oh, I don't fit in, when you get those feelings?
Well, this last year has actually been pretty pivotal for me. I feel like for whatever reason, this last 2019 year um, offered me the opportunity to have isolation and alone time where I feel like a lot of people left my life really quickly. And
Mhm.
it left this great space. Yeah, in the beginning it felt lonely. And in the beginning, like I have mourned more this last year than I think I have in my whole life. So that kind of sucked. And I know what you mean about like, it's not all great. But now that I'm kind of coming out of that, I don't want to fit in. I don't like the entrapment that that creates. I actually am settling in with who I am and getting super clear about what that looks like and what it sounds like and how it dresses and how it does its hair. And um, I'm finding this peace within myself that I am not ever willing to let go of because I feel like it's finally anchoring. Now that doesn't mean I don't want connection, and that I'm craving. I'm absolutely, and I'm creating community right now. I've got a meetup group and other things that I'm doing. And so I'm creating that community. But I think I'm actually okay with being different at this point. I don't really want to look like everybody else and sound like everybody else. So there's a strong stance in that for me. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that is a learning process to get there, and
Yeah.
uh, one where you have to really question.
Oh, yeah. I questioned everything. Like, in fact, I noticed how I was trying, like this last year, I was trying to do all my self soothing things that I normally do. I was trying to do all the distractions and all the habits. And spirit just wouldn't let me. It just kept like, no, 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 sit down and do this work, focus on this work. So I felt very forced for my own good. I was not going to be able to move into this 2020 year with all that old stuff. So I'm grateful on this side of it, but that side of it was really difficult. It was really hard, but it was worth it. I will always believe it's worth it.
Yeah, sometimes I think the universe kind of um,
Yeah.
leads us through those adversities. Like, um, it didn't happen for this purpose, I don't think, but 2019, I was sick most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of 2018, I had pulled back from all of my networking.
Yeah.
And I had decided I just was not going to do that anymore. Um, and then I got sick and I couldn't. I just didn't have the energy to go out there and do that. And it was, like you said, it was a time where I did a lot of reflection and had a lot of me time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I wouldn't have been sick if I would have, kept to my decision to, just
Mm-hmm.
um, withdraw from all of that.
Right. Right. I agree. I love that has such a piece of we're not in this alone for me, where because we're really tiny animals on this planet. Like we don't see near what we need to be seeing to understand the totality of it. And so, yeah, there is a beautiful support system helping us through what we don't see. And yeah, sometimes they have to intervene. Like I do feel like they took everything away so that I didn't have any distraction. I had to focus. I had to focus. I had to do that deep work. And I see that all the time. They know exactly what they're doing, and we don't have to have all the answers. And that's another level of belonging. I don't have to know everything. They know things I don't know. And so now there's that level of relationship. So we are so incredibly supported. I'm glad you're better, but I really get that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I I try to keep these relatively short, although
Oh,
they're
yeah,
really
yeah.
topics that we could talk about for a long time.
I know.
So is there something that you'd like, one final thing that you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
Mm. Well, in the context of everything we're speaking about, I would just like to say, um, if we can start moving over towards trusting ourselves, trusting everything that that entails, everything within that, the inklings, the voices, the feelings, the knowings, these bumpy times in our lives aren't going to be so bumpy. And in the relationship with trust, there's also that surrender. It's also letting go of that that resistance to, no, 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 I want it this way, and this is how I think it should go. And if we could drop that, I just invite people to play with that language and see where you can let go of that resistance and where are you not trusting yourself? Because that's, for me, that's like such a good tag team energy, kind of locks everything in for you.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think we need to learn more about trusting our feelings and being more in touch with them.
Yeah.
And
And acting on them, stepping into that and saying, I don't know why, but I have to go do this. That's one of my favorite energies of, I don't know why, but I have to, because there's this push. And 9 times out of 10, it's the best thing for you. So
yes,
step
true.
into that, trust it.
And so we're going to wrap up this soul talk for today. And it kind of leads us into, if you want to know more about intuition and empaths, be sure to watch the radio show on March 18th,
17th,
17th,
18th, 17th.
17th. She's on March
Not that I'm paying attention or
17th.
anything.
That's a Tuesday, and it'll be on intuition and being an empath. So thank you for listening today, and I hope you got something out of this.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much.
thank you, Morrigan.
Yeah, you too, honey.